Now, I may not be an American, but us Brits certainly love to join in and celebrate with Thanksgiving. And what better than to watch a great movie that captures the spirit of the holiday. So let's dive into a film that is just not a comedy classic, but also, in my humble opinion, the best work of the legendary John Hughes. I'm talking about Planes, Trains and Automobiles, the 1987 comedy starring Steve Martin and John Candy. Now, I know John Hughes is known for iconic teen dramas like Breakfast Club and Ferris Bueller's Day Off, but hear me out. And here are 5 reasons why Planes, Trains and Automobiles stands as Hughes' finest hour. Cue the intro. Number 5. The comedy chemistry of Steve Martin and John Candy. So let's kick things off with the dynamic duo that carries this film, Steve Martin and John Candy. Martin's Neil Page is the perfect foil to Candy's Del Griffith. One is a tightly wound advertising executive, and the other is a lovable but annoying shower curtain ring salesman. And the chemistry between these two is electric, and it's their interactions that make this film a timeless classic. They're like the Laurel and Hardy of the 1980s, and it's a pairing that we're lucky to witness. Number 4. John Hughes' direction. John Hughes is known for infusing his films with emotional depth, but Planes, Trains and Automobiles takes it to another level. For his first non-high school movie, Hughes blended 2 other comedy subgenres, the road movie and the buddy movie. And beneath that slapstick comedy and hilarious one-liners lies a story of loneliness, family and importance of human connection. And by the end of the film, you're not just laughing, but you're also a little teary-eyed. And that's the magic of John Hughes. He just makes you feel a range of emotions within the span of 90 minutes. Number 3. The iconic scenes. Who can forget the "those aren't pillows" scene, or the moment where Neil loses it at the car rental desk? These scenes have become part of pop culture, and they're as funny today as they were over 30 years ago. The film is a series of misadventures that keep you on the edge of your seat, and not just because they're hilarious, but also because they're so relatable. Who hasn't had a travel nightmare that makes Neil and Del's journey seem almost plausible? Now, many years ago, I was actually trapped in Florida through a connection in New York with a snowstorm, and I had a Planes, Trains and Automobiles moment where I had to stay in a hotel room using a credit card with a suitcase full of dirty washing. It was a nightmare, so I do empathise with these characters. Number 2. It's aged like a fine wine. At its core, Planes, Trains and Automobiles is a story about the human experience. It's about the unexpected friendship that can form when we least expect it, and the kindness that can be found in strangers. It is a movie that has aged like a fine wine to me, remaining relevant even in today's world of Ubers and Airbnb. And who can forget that heartbreaking ending with Del? It just adds that tragic layer to his character arc. When we rewatch it, it just gets me every time. Even talking about it makes me well up. And that's why it stands as John Hughes' best film. It's timeless, relatable and above all profoundly human. So before we head over to number 1, let's do the usual look at a few things you may not know about John Hughes' classic. So, are you ready? Okay, let's do this. Did you know that Martin and McClurg's F-bomb filled exchange earned Planes, Trains and Automobiles an R rating? Well, that sweary tirade between Martin and McClurg is reportedly one of the scenes that made Martin want to make the movie. Its overuse of the word is also apparently what pushed the movie's rating from PG-13 to R. Did you know that Jerry Ryan was cut from the movie, but a scene wasn't? Well, future Star Trek Voyager star Jerry Ryan made her acting debut in Planes, Trains and Automobiles. She was one of the passengers on the bus ride and couldn't help but laugh at Martin and Candy's antics. So John Hughes reshot the scenes, but without her. Did you know that in the train scene where Neil thinks about Del and laughs, Steve Martin didn't know the camera was actually rolling? To get the new ending he wanted, John Hughes and editor Paul Hirsch went to look for footage they previously didn't think would be used. Hughes had kept the cameras rolling in between takes on the Chicago train without his lead's knowledge while Martin was thinking about his next lines. Hughes thought Martin had a beautiful expression on his face in that unguarded moment, which he placed into the film. Did you know the original cut is almost 4 hours long? Steve Martin was originally shocked to find the length of the script and asked Hughes which scenes he thought would be cut from the 145-page script. Hughes was confused by the question. In fact, John Hughes shot 600,000 feet of film, which is almost twice the industry average. According to the film's editor Paul Hirsch, the original cut of the movie was almost 4 hours long. Did you know that the film was inspired by a true story? Before John Hughes became a beloved screenwriter and director, he was an ad man working as a copywriter in Chicago. As a copywriter, he had to make a presentation in New York City at 11 AM on a Wednesday, with plans to head back home to Chicago on a 5 PM flight. But the Windy City stayed true to its name and winter storms cancelled his flight, forcing him to find a last-minute hotel in the city. He eventually found another flight which was rerouted to Iowa and then diverted to Denver, where he was also snowed in. Hughes was then routed to Phoenix before eventually finding his way back home in Chicago on the following Monday. His personal misadventures helped to inspire Neil Page's unfortunate holiday travel plans, and apparently the spark of inspiration burned so brightly that Hughes completed the screenplay in just 3 days. So I am back. So recap time. I've covered the magical chemistry between Steve Martin and John Candy, the fantastic directing of John Hughes, whose iconic scenes and emotional core of the story resonate today. So now are you ready for my number one reason why planes, trains and automobiles have stood the test of time? Okay, here we go. Number one, it's the ultimate Thanksgiving movie. Okay, so you wait for it. That long weekend that you know will include family, maybe some football, lots of food and then leftovers and sales the day after that. Everything looks great in those weeks leading up to the 4th Thursday in November, until it all goes to hell. And that long drive, probably filled with holiday traffic and drunk relatives whose opinions you don't really care to hear about. So the anticipation of the holiday is fun, but the drama that ensures during it is not. And that's what makes this film so relatable. While John Hughes dabbled in the holiday genre after this with Home Alone, Planes, Trains and Automobiles stands out as the perfect film for Thanksgiving. It captures the frantic energy of holiday travel and the desperation to get home to loved ones. But it also reminds us to be thankful for the good in our lives, even if it comes in the form of an annoying travel companion. Along with A Charlie Brown's Thanksgiving, this is the perfect film enjoyed with a side of turkey and some cranberry sauce. So there you have it folks, 5 compelling reasons why Planes, Trains and Automobiles is not just a comedy classic, but also John Hughes' best work. If you haven't already seen it, what are you waiting for? And if you have seen it, it's time for another rewatch this Thanksgiving. As always, I am eager to hear your thoughts. Have you got a TV show, a film or a piece of music you'd like me to review? Or why not drop it in the comments below and keep the conversation flowing. So join me next week as we dive into a month-long festive vibe and take a look at Frank Capra's heartwarming 1946 holiday classic, It's a Wonderful Life. But until next time, safe travels for Thanksgiving, whether it's by plane, train or automobile. See you later. Bye.